All right, welcome to the GTP. My name is Scott, and I'm excited to share with you guys today this exclusive interview with Carl, the CEO and founder of Merry Manga, with a single goal in mind to share the joy of reading and collecting manga by offering an enjoyable and affordable shopping experience to collectors of all backgrounds. Carl, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, how we doing?
Well, Carl, I'm so excited to have a CEO here, to someone of your caliber, just being willing to share a bit of your story. As you know, most of our listeners are very passionate about manga, but I always like to start with just something a little personal, just so we can get to know the person better, as you are a human as well. Could you describe for us what was your perfect Saturday growing up?
You're testing my memory here for sure with that one. But probably, my dad would wake my little brother and I up like every Saturday morning, and kind of our go-to show we would watch together was Power Rangers. I think probably Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was my favorite, but we definitely went through, you know, all the ones that came after that. Um, Beyond that, just I'd probably play my Game Boy Advance literally all day. Pokemon, Golden Sun, Fire Force, whatever I had.
Oh, this is good. So if I understand, your dad would wake you up to watch Power Rangers.
Oh yeah, that was like his big nerdy thing he wanted to do with us, and probably the reason I'm kind of a geek today.
Well, that's awesome. I wasn't allowed to watch it, so I'd be sneaking downstairs hoping my parents are still asleep so I could put it on.
Oh my God. I never even thought that it might be inappropriate.
I just think they just didn't understand it. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's interesting what people are cool with now that back in the day they thought was freaking out or worried about. And I love that you mentioned
for
Golden
sure.
Sun. That's very near and dear to my heart, and I'm very sad that they never made a third, but we are getting an
Yeah.
HD remake of the first two, which is great.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to checking that out.
So, Carl, if you don't mind, would you be able to share with us, just for our listeners, just about Merry Manga and just your passion for manga in general?
Yeah, so it's honestly something I really just kind of slipped into. I've been into anime since I was a kid. That was something else my little brother and I watched a lot of together. One Piece, Dragon Ball, Yu Yu Hakusho. Um, and it's just, it's probably something I fell out a little bit with in high school. But then in college, I think I started reading One Piece and Naruto again online. And I remember reading like, the final war of Naruto as it was happening every week. And I'm like, this is so exciting. Like, I have to know what's going to happen next week. And, ever since then, I kind of have been obsessed with shonen. Um, Today, I try to branch out a little more. But so, as far as how Merry Manga started, I kind of started out the same way as a lot of people. A couple of years ago, we were mid-pandemic, and hobby markets were booming. Um, and I wanted to buy my first physical manga. I've never actually owned one besides like some Shonen Jump comics my parents got me as a kid. Um, and what actually inspired me to buy it was JJK. Um, and so I went to like shop for volume 3 or 4, I think, and I just couldn't find it anywhere. Or it was on eBay for like $30 or Amazon for $30. I'm like, but the retail is 9.99. Why is this $30? Um, and so I kind of realized that demand was insane at the time. Um, so I quickly found out about Reddit's manga swap, and I hopped on there. People were selling constantly, and I watched that subreddit boom from, I think I joined it at about 160,000 members, and it boomed to like 600,000 in a couple months.
Oh,
And
wow.
I'm like, this is actually insane. Um, and at the time in 2021, I was working 2 jobs. I had a ton of money and not a ton of time to spend it. And so I ended up just quickly gaining a new addiction for manga and buying more and more and more of it. Um, and soon, as I bought stuff, I read it, I decided I didn't want it, I'd sell it on Manga Swap. And then over time, I realized, you know, going back to how hard it was for me to find Jujutsu Kaisen, one of those volumes, I realized that there was kind of a need for somebody to kind of help prevent scalpers, really,
Mm.
as demand was increasing. The game's changed a bit today, and we can touch on that later. But at the time, like people just really wanted to buy their favorite series, and they couldn't find it anywhere for an affordable price. Um, so I, at some point, I got my first wholesale account, just applied for it. I probably did it for selfish reasons at the time, like, I want to buy it for really cheap too. So I went ahead and got that account, and I started just kind of buying some sets, throwing them up on Manga Swap, and stuff would sell really quickly. I'm like, okay, maybe this isn't just a hobby. Maybe this is something I can actually make a living off of, something that I actually want to do. Um, So in, I believe, February of 2022, I actually left my full-time job as an environmental scientist,
Mm.
and I just kind of dove really hard and fast into manga and spent a ridiculous amount probably on my initial inventory, some of which, there's a good chance that there's a couple books that I bought 2 years ago still on that shelf back there. Um, because at the time I had no clue what I was doing. It just kind of bought stuff that I liked and I wanted to sell. And if I'm rambling here, let me know.
No, keep going. This is gold.
Yeah. Um, so it started out, I was just selling sets on Manga Swap, and I really enjoyed it. I'd try to sell on Facebook Marketplace too. I'd sell a little bit on eBay too. Um, and eventually, I had a kind of a part-time job that was kind of floating me this whole time. Um, and I still have that job today, just to, you know, in case I have a bad month. But I decided that, this is something I want to keep doing. It's something I'm really passionate about. Um, I've kind of always been cursed into turning my passions into my jobs. So it's, which can kind of hurt your passion for it at times. Um, but I ended up, let's see, I believe it was about the middle of no, the middle of 2022, or towards the end of 2022, I got a hold of a website developer, and I was like, hey, I think I kind of want to take the next step. Like, I'm really tired of selling on Reddit. It's just like I had good sales, but it's really hard to have a conversation with every single person that you're selling something to. It takes up so much time. And I wanted to sell more manga, and more manga meant more time. So my goal was to make the process as efficient as possible. So I found this developer, recommended to me by my friend Brandon, Mr. Wawu, in my
Yep.
Discord. Um, and he ended up being like the perfect fit. He's a huge fan of Sailor Moon. Doesn't know a ton about manga and anime outside of that, but we're trying to get him there. Um, and so I think I contracted him beginning in January of last year. And then we ended up finally getting the site done towards the end of May. I think if there was any delay on that, it was probably my fault because, for some reason, I thought, 14,000 books, they'll just appear on the site, right? With all the information that I want. No, it doesn't work like that. I had to source most of that information myself, which was a really enjoyable process, but it was a really tedious and long process. Um, but eventually we got it done, and Merry Manga launched, I think, towards the end of May last year. And since then, I've just been trying to basically make the business more efficient, sell more manga, and just get more attention towards the business.
Hmm. So you're saying it doesn't happen overnight.
Absolutely not.
What, if you don't mind me asking, Carl, as you're speaking, I think a lot of times we have an idea and we get really excited, but it gets hard. What was your drive to keep on going from just, hey, I really I want to make this into more of a business driver instead of just be like, oh, that's enough.
I definitely hit probably a couple points where I was like, I don't know if this is something I want to do permanently or even a year from now. But I realized just that it was something I was crazy passionate about, and something worth pursuing, something that, at least in my spreadsheets, like the numbers work, like I can sell manga at a discount, make everybody happy, make everybody merry, and and I could still make enough of a profit to eventually pay myself back for my initial investment. um, Sorry, what else was your question?
No, that's good. No, how what was your drive to keep on going?
Oh, honestly, it's just because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the community around it. I enjoyed, honestly, just having my hands on all of these books that I'm sending out to people, kind of contributing to my own addiction that way. Like, I'd have a customer order something that's on my site, but maybe I really don't know much about it other than the initial research I did on that series. And I'll get the book in hand. I'm like, this is really cool. I might want this. I might have to buy myself a copy now. And it's just the fact that it's just so fun for me, it made it worth it. Even amidst the times that it was kind of rough, the times where I was overwhelmed with work, like just enjoying it helps. Like being passionate about what your work is really helps.
Oh, I love what you're sharing. I think it's so key is be able to have fun with it. And if I don't have fun, I'm no one's, forcing me to do this. I can choose if I want to stop and it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, that's a mindset I try to always have in the back of my head. Like if I had to, if like the worst possible day happened, I could walk away from this tomorrow. I don't want to do that, of course. I have a lot of orders in processing, and I don't think my customers want me to do that either. Um, but yeah, like nothing, absolutely nothing is permanent. Like you don't have to do what you don't want to do. Um, and I think if you want to follow with what you want to do, you want to pursue what you want to do, then you just you just have to keep at it, you know? Like there's always going to be hard days in any aspect of life, and it's unavoidable. And you just got to power through it and like remember your why for why you're pursuing that dream, why you're pursuing that business, that career, whatever.
I I love what you're saying, especially the why. I think I heard a best practice is if you enjoy 60% of your job, it's probably a good job. We all have that 40% of things that we don't like to do or wouldn't not want to do, but in reality, it's still part of the job.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I have 3 kids. I didn't like changing diapers, but, it's not majority of the time, and there's other aspects to this, but yes, we're all gonna do things we don't like to do, part of it. I'm sure, not always excited, wake up in the morning, can't wait to do more spreadsheets on my financial bookkeeping, but it's exciting to the idea of I get to work for myself. I'm selling something that I enjoy myself. There's so many times where people are in a job where they're having to sell something that they aren't particularly passionate about or don't want themselves, but have to convince other people to buy. So there's many other aspects, and I like your sharing is you be able to find your why. And if you don't know your why, that would be probably the best place to start
Mhm.
before you move forward on what is it you want to do.
Yeah, it's probably a little too easy to take just take a leap sometimes and then end up regretting it because you haven't thought it through, you haven't come up with your why, you haven't even looked like 2 months ahead, you know? And I probably hit that point a couple times. I probably bought some books that I regretted buying like a week later. I'm like, oh, I'm never actually going to sell this. I don't know why I thought this would sell.
But you now have historical data to look at
Oh, yeah,
that you can be like, hey, this didn't sell as well last time. Maybe we shouldn't buy as much for the next volume.
pretty
So,
much. Yeah. Like now I'm actually blessed with having the website now because I do get a good bit of pre-orders every month. And so I am starting to collect that data of what my regular customers want to buy, what new customers come in and buy. And then, if I want to buy extra, I'm comfortable because, I pre-sold like 12 of them. I can afford to buy a few more. I'm sure they'll sell. You know?
hmm.
So,
Well, one big thing that just really stuck out to me when I was on your website is your mission, which I love, and then I even love hearing you on the Discord because you live out this mission. Especially at the beginning, you say offering an affordable, enjoyable, and sustainable fulfillment experience for collectors of all background. So, would you be able to share a little bit how you came up with that mission statement? Because I do see you live out. I've even seen you post where someone says they found a book cheaper than instead of your site, and you said, "Go for it." That's great. I'm really happy
yeah,
that, and you're genuinely happy that they found it for a better price. So
yeah,
I love that, and the community you're creating really is. I love about your Discord. You really are creating a diverse group of people together that get to talk about something they all enjoy, and you can see the passion just in you as well, and I'm sure people can hear right off the bat is, you don't see people as just another number or a transaction, but every one person matters in a relationship. So I would you be able to break down, maybe we can start with what you meant by offering an affordable.
yeah. So affordable is probably the easiest part to explain. Like, when I was like, it all goes back to when I first started trying to buy manga, and I saw that people were just there probably were some wholesalers or some, people that had wholesale accounts that would just buy a ton of what was popular and then sell it for double the retail price. And I think that's just ridiculous. And it's not something that lasts. It's not a good business model by any means. You might be able to make a short, fast, quick profit off of it, but you're going to make a lot of people angry along the way. And so when I approached building the website, or even back when I sold on Reddit, I always just wanted to sell at the best price that I could afford, um, so that it's affordable for all of you.
What about enjoyable?
Enjoyable goes into kind of just my view of manga in general. Like it's just something that is really enjoyable for me. It is for a lot of people to just open a box. You open a box. Like for me, it used to be Right Stuff. I used to buy a ton of stuff off of Right Stuff, before I started my own business, and I'd be so excited just open that box. You got your like cardboard liner around the books, all the spines are facing up, and you have this awesome haul that you can share with your friends or on Reddit or wherever. And it's just so fun and enjoyable. And so when I approached my developer and we started building the site, I was kind of like, essentially, I was like, how do we kind of recreate the experience of walking into a bookstore, but on a website?
Hmm.
And so that's kind of why we went with, if you go to product pages, you go to the all series page, you have really big covers. Um, I try to include as much information about each product, about each title as I can, um, just to make it so that, like, I don't care if you buy anything or not. Like, if you're on the site and you're just looking at manga and you're just browsing and browsing, you're like, man, I want that, I want that, I want that, I want that. Like, you're having a good time, right? And that's what I wanted to recreate. And I think so far the site's doing a pretty good job at that.
And the last, and maybe this has to do with your environmental science background, but a sustainable fulfillment experience for collectors of all backgrounds.
Yeah, so it definitely has a little bit to do with environmental impact. Like I personally don't like to buy plastic, anything. Like I actually tried that kind of papery tape for a while and it sucked. So unfortunately I'm back to just plastic tape. Um, but as far as everything else that I put in the box, it's pretty much all paper always. But sustainable also to me means like I want to be around for a while. I want customers to be able to, anticipate like I'll be able to buy my April releases off Merry or my November releases off Merry. Um, I just I want the company to be something that people can rely on.
Hmm. I love that because as you probably know, some businesses you can grow too fast, and then actually what happens instead is you're actually in massive debt, where it's almost counterintuitive, where you're like, wait, I have all these sales, but then depending on it, you can't get them fast enough, then we're in that you can really crash and burn. So I love the idea that, hey, how do I do something that's sustainable? Because you could just, drop your prices even more to massive all these people, but then it might not be sustainable in the long run. And then
No,
that could move to a topic which we're going to cover in a little bit, just on burnout.
yeah. Yeah, it definitely, like I wanted the prices to be as low as I could reasonably get them, but I have to think of my own time as well. If I'm selling stuff for just slightly above cost, what am I really paying myself? So there's a delicate balance to this that hopefully will make everyone happy and will allow my business to grow. Um, it's been growing pretty well so far. I'm not in massive amounts of debt, just so you know. Um, I kind of I funded the business. I actually don't. I've never taken out a loan for this business. I just funded it with savings that I had at the time, due to working like 60 hours a week between two jobs, and which I'm thankful. What the funny thing is, sidebar, is that I was working two jobs, working like 60 to 65 hours a week, and so burnt out by it. And then some like my solution, right, is to start a business. Well, guess how much you have to work when you start a business? All the time, 24/7. So, I replaced a lot of work with a lot of work, but at least it's work that I enjoy a lot more.
So, Carl, when I was learning more about Merry Manga, one thing that really struck a chord with me was on your website, you even talk about uh, there was a time that you were facing burnout. Now, just something I was thinking about, I just think it's such an important topic to talk about these days, and there's so many mental health challenges, and yet we can be hesitant to discuss burnout, whether that's we're ashamed, we feel alone, like maybe it's just me, and I thought your transparency really just shines a light on this vital topic. Often I'm even seeing, teenagers these days talk about how stressed out they were, whether
Mhm.
that's with school or social circles, and it seems more rampant than ever before of people feeling burnt out. Whether that's technology is getting faster and faster. Where 1950s we thought a laundry machine would allow us to have more time on our hands to relax, and instead, what we found is that people are just doing more. Instead of, handwriting a letter on a typewriter, we're now expected to turn out all these emails, and it's just they're always asking like, "Oh, what more can I do now because I have this function?" Instead of like, "Oh, maybe I should be doing less." So I just think it's so important. So would you mind just sharing first, what is burnout to you?
Yeah, kind of what it looked like for me was, I'm going to this job every day, 5 days a week. It's a good job, right? Like I got benefits, got health insurance, retirement, all that good stuff. But, I always had it in the back of my head, like, this job isn't really what I want to do forever. And so as burnout kind of slowly start sinking in. How it took effect for me, it was mainly like I wouldn't wake up when my alarm went off, you know. I would hit that snooze button. I'd hit it again, I hit it again. And then next thing you know, I'm showing up at my office at like 9:15 and my boss is like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, I overslept, sorry. And then it happened again, and then it happened again, and then it started being a regular occurrence. And you're like, okay, all right, yeah, I'm not excited to go to work. You know, I'm not excited at all. Like, and then and then the weeks, like it, I don't know, it starts out as a lack of excitement, and then it kind of starts affecting you in every aspect of your life. Like I was just overstressed. Um, like I did have like it was a demanding job for sure, but it was a job that I think like any job, it's a job that you can do if you have the right experience and education. Um, but just the way, I don't know, the way that burnout set in, I just I hated it. You know, it made me hate going to work. It made me hate waking up. It made me hate being around my coworkers, even though they were great people. Um, and it drained me, man. Like I had nothing left after going to work, even on its easiest days. And I'd get home and I would just vegetate. Like I would just sit on my couch and probably watch anime and go to bed and I wouldn't talk to anybody and I probably wouldn't, I'd probably go get fast food instead of cooking myself a meal or, just kind of like what you said about how teenagers are struggling these days because uh, there's so much, maybe too much efficiency so that we're being assigned millions, hundreds, thousands, whatever of tasks. And like it's just pulling your brain in so many different directions and it drains the heck out of you. And by the time you're home at the end of the day, like doing this most simple task seems impossible, like
Mm.
cooking yourself a meal or playing with your dog or whatever it was. Like that's what it was for me. And after a while, I realized that's just not a sustainable way to live. I can't just I don't want to feel like this all the time, you know.
Hmm. Do you have what was your aha moment or your moment where you're like, maybe I should get some help, or maybe I should a change has to happen?
Um, it that's it's hard to pinpoint when exactly that sunk in, but it probably was just whenever I got to breaking point with that job. You know, I remember literally being out in the field and getting so frustrated that something wasn't working that I just like screamed at the top of my lungs. Like nobody else was there, nobody else was there to hear it at all. But it's like how they tell you to scream into your pillow if you're frustrated. Like that just happened. And that was probably my breaking point. Like I'm not meant to do this. I can't do this any longer. I have to find a way to do something that actually brings me joy and makes me happy. Or if I was set on that career, I have to find a way to enjoy that career. I have to find a way. I have to find a reason, like my reason why I'm doing this job. And I didn't have that at the time, and so it just wore me down completely. The one thing I wish I had done, was reach out for help. Um, I there were friends that I vented to, of course, but I never sought out a therapist or anything like that. And I think it really would have been helpful. I think I probably would have discovered some things about myself sooner than later, and that would have been a great thing. Um, and so I don't know. I would encourage anyone that feels that way to find somebody good to talk to that is kind of a neutral party. I mean, a therapist is great if you're religious, maybe a pastor, just somebody that could really help you kind of get back on track, and prioritizing yourself, really.
Hmm. What were some so what are some things that you did to help get yourself out of that burnout? To even if it's a there's always check-ins for ourselves to make sure we don't go back there or it's, ongoing process. What are some things you've done to get healthy?
Um, well, first I probably did a lot of unhealthy things. Like just buying tons and tons of manga. Retail therapy was a huge way I combated my stress. And I wouldn't recommend that because, you know, it could be a waste of money unless you are budgeting properly to spend that money. Um, as far as the good things I did to get back on track, I think you have to learn to have self-importance. Like you have to learn to care about yourself. You know, like I said earlier, I'd get home from work and I just wouldn't want to do anything at all. And then I'd wake up next day, repeat the same miserable day. And after a while, I realized, no, you have to prioritize yourself. You have to give yourself time to heal. You have to take care of yourself like a decent human being. And so just like, while all the tasks that I have at work that I don't enjoy, like they're overwhelming and they make the simple tasks at home also overwhelming. I found that it's even more overwhelming not to do those simple tasks. Like just cook yourself a nice dinner. Like I'm a single guy, I don't enjoy cooking myself a full meal, it'll end up sitting in the fridge for days, the leftovers. Um, but just doing something like that can really help with the stress. Um, like you could also just take the time to actually read your manga that you're buying instead of just buying it. Um, I love my dogs, so I'm like, all right, we're just gonna go walk for an hour. I'm not gonna look at my phone. I'm not gonna have any distractions whatsoever. It's just I think everybody has to find out what works for them.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
So what are if you don't mind, Carl, what are some things you learned about yourself? Maybe some lessons or insights that you gained from that experience to where you're at now?
Um, I definitely learned that I need to give myself time. I need to give myself a proper if I'm feeling down, if I'm feeling stressed, I need to learn to walk away and just take a moment, take a breather, say, and just do something. uh, For me, it's like, because as far as my business I'm running right now, I'm constantly on Discord, I'm constantly on the internet, constantly in my email, um, or I'm working on the site, I'm packing orders, like I'm constantly doing something. I have all of these, like a massive list of tasks that I can do every single day. And, you know, it's really easy for me to just work all day and forget to like eat, forget to drink water. We have someone in our Discord now that reminds us all to eat and drink water, which is incredible. Um, but it's like taking the time to actually do those basic things to care about yourself. Like it seems so simple. It's probably not something a lot of people struggle with, but some people might really struggle with it. But just, I don't know, taking the time to take care of yourself, take a break, take a lunch break, an hour, whatever, don't, yeah, I can't sit at my computer and look up and see that it's 5 p.m. anymore and I've done nothing except sit at my computer all day. I cannot do that anymore because it was killing me.
Hmm.
It was probably killing.
I think it's so true what you shared, especially being an entrepreneur, is the job never is done.
Hmm.
You have to give your time to clock in and out, or you will be working 24/7 because there's always something to do. And that's definitely not healthy. And I think what you're sharing too, the importance of self-care, kind of like when you go on an airplane, when they talk about the oxygen mask when it comes down, they say before you go help somebody else, you need to make sure that you have the oxygen mask on yourself first.
Yeah.
So then that way you are able to take care of other people. If I'm not practicing self-care and making sure that I'm good, I'm not gonna be able to help other people, which is a better fulfillment, and that's the reason why we have self-care is not for selfish reasons, but make it so I'm in a better situation so I can go and do the things that I want to be able to help, support my community.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Self-care is so important. And I've found that just taking that little break, not working until midnight, whatever, I have a lot more energy and I'm a lot more efficient the next day. Um, and as far as, feeling that way when you're running your own business, especially like, barely a 2-year-old business like mine, there's going to be a lot to do, always, always. And I'd love to do it all in a day. It's not possible. So, what I've found really helps me focus and kind of escape the stress is just having a plan. Um, I try not to ever plan too far ahead because I'm not going to stick to it. So my thing is, what works for me is just planning day by day. Like I'll either before I go to bed or when I wake up, I have my like notepad right here, and I'm like, okay, this is a list. I'll usually like on a Sunday or something like this is a list of everything I want to do this week, and then Monday will come along. Monday morning will come along, and I'm like, okay, this is what I actually want to accomplish today. This is what I think I can accomplish today. A lot of times I I give myself too much and I'm like, okay, that's actually not possible and that's okay. Like that is totally okay. Like I'm prioritizing, I'm getting done what needs to be done and I'm going to take a break afterward. I'm not going to just keep working through the night. And and that's important. Like I think it's kind of a I know I've been a little jumbled here, but it's in part it is having a plan and it's knowing what works for you.
Hmm.
And you got to give yourself um, the proper amount of time to figure that out, really. And it's okay if it takes however long it takes.
Hmm. Well, I think that's really encouraging, very helpful. Is there any other advice you'd want to give someone who might be seeing some of those warning signs right now for burnout?
Um, it all depends on what's causing the burnout. Like for some people, it's their employers. For some people, it's the work itself. Um, Sometimes it's just the conditions of the job, but you have to talk to somebody. Honestly, like I would talk to my employer a lot. My employer fully knew at my previous job that I was burned out with it and that I probably wasn't going to make it forever. And he fully understood. He did his best to make that position more comfortable for me, allowed me to work from home if I was, stressed out and I could do the work at home. Um, and I think, a lot of times people are more understanding than you think. I think when you're super stressed out, it's really easy to get in your own head and be like, nobody wants to hear this. Nobody's going to understand, or they're just not going to care. But I think any reasonable employer would care, because they want you to be able to do your job comfortably and they want the work to be done well. And you're not going to do it well if you're extremely stressed out. So one of the first people I would talk to is, your employers if you're struggling at your job. If you're struggling starting up your own business, that it kind of is like at the end of the day, it is just you. Like you're the only one that's starting that business. So I kind of what I said earlier, I having a plan is huge. Having a plan takes away all my stress. Like being able to look at my spreadsheets and knowing that, okay, every single sale I make is within the margin that I want it to be, and it's worth my time, that makes me feel fantastic. Like, and just you got to put in the effort up front, but it ends up being so much worth it later. Like, because as your business grows, you're only going to have more work, right? But if you set yourself up for that success, for future growth, then you're not going to have to, then the growing pains will be a lot easier to overcome.
Hmm. You know, I heard one business person say what I thought was so true. He's like, our large company has the same problems as your small business. We just have more zeros attached to it.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, we our time management, morale, making sure that we can cover expenses. We just have more expenses to cover, but a lot of it is the same challenges you see over and over. It's nothing new.
Mhm.
Uh, Before we wrap up our time, is there anything else you'd like our listeners to know?
Like I was saying earlier, I'm planning for Mary to be around for a while. I'd like it to be. I'd like more people to learn about it and give it a try. Um, and even if you don't want to buy something, check out the website because I've put a lot of effort into it, like literally hundreds of hours between January and May of last year, and then just constant whenever I could tweak stuff now. Um, but as far as I know, I don't know if there's another retail online store that has quite as much like information per volume as Mary. And that was like my big goal was to just like if you want to find a new shonen series, like if I can figure out what the target demographic is of a series, it's on there. And so you can click that shonen tag and boom, like you can find all the shonen series, and then you can use the filters to find shonen series about mermaids or whatever you want to find. Um, so I don't know. Like, yeah, I would encourage people to check out the site and just have fun with it. Um, Another thing, just as a thanks for hosting me, I wanted to offer to your community and whoever makes it to the end of this, jumbled video of jumbled me talking. Um, I'm gonna do a coupon code for whenever the day this video is posted. The coupon code will be geeks, and it'll be good for about 10 days. Just a minor discount, whatever you want to use it on. I don't care. But just as a thanks for you for doing this and for your community for watching.
Well, that is very, very generous of you. I really appreciate it. So, for those who stuck to the end of this wonderful podcast, you'll use the code GEEKS to get a lovely discount on your next future purchase at Merry Manga, which I'll have a video soon just showing about how wonderful it is of navigating the site and opening some manga and just the wonderfulness of it. Last question I have for you, Carl, is where can people find you these days?
Um, I will say I'm most active on Twitter or the other name that was given it. Um, I am on Blue Sky, but I haven't seen much interaction on there yet, so I kind of always forget to post. But if y'all follow me there, I will post more. Same with Instagram, trying to grow that. I have a ton of books here that I could take pictures of all the time, but marketing is another one of those tasks that is just on my like I have all of these tasks on my list, right? And it's kind of one that I often don't get to, but I'm trying to focus on it more, and that goes back into me having a plan. Um, let's see, where else am I? Beyond that, I would definitely, if you ever have a question about your order, about the site, you could go to merrymanga.com/info, or we have a contact form. I'm always on my phone. I'm always on my email. So I was actually answering like I got a ridiculous amount of emails last night after 10 p.m. And so I was like going back and forth with several customers and they ended up super happy about it.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm always available whenever I want to be anyway. Otherwise, I'm available between like 9 and 5 via contact form. And then also join the Merry Maniacs Discord. You know, I've got geeks in here, I've got Scott in here, and I have a ton of, we're trying to just get a ton of good people and build a community that is sponsored by my business, but it's not, you know, it's not my business itself. It's just a fun Discord community that we decided to build for fellow, you know, collectors and hobbyists and whatnot. And I think that's about it. That's pretty much where you can find me.
Yeah, and I gotta say, it is active. If you are looking for people to connect to who love manga, it is a phenomenal Discord server. It's definitely not going to be crickets. You will see tons of good interactions and people encouraging one another, and Carl pops in as well, as along with his fantastic moderators.
Yep, that the Discord might be my number one distraction every single day. The more I talk to y'all, the less I'm packing manga, just so you know. So if I ever disappear, it's because I'm actually working.
Yes, so if you want your order to ship faster, maybe not talk to
Maybe
Carl.
stop pinging me.
Awesome. Well, I'll leave links down in the description below where they can find you as well. Carl, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure having you on our show.
No, this has been great, Scott. I hope somebody benefits from this. I truly think that anybody is capable of pursuing anything they want to do. You just have to have a plan.
I love that. So with that, as you guys know, have a plan. It's very important, but we are so grateful for your guys' time, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, Scott. See ya.